very basic stuff. You continue.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
By the way, hi, how are you doing? I'm here. I'm here with Brian. How do you spell your last name, bro?
Altamirano.
Altamirano. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
it.
Brian is a student at Columbia GS as well. We have the same calc class together. Both of us hate it. And I'm here going to have like a dope discussion with Brian. I'm going to learn a bunch about him. So Brian, give me a small introduction of yourself. Tell me, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? How's life been up until? How'd you get into GS? Like, build us a narrative.
All right. So background story.
Uh-huh.
So I started out. Well, I was born in California, so LA.
Uh-huh.
I lived there for like a year and a half only,
Mhm.
and then I moved to Nicaragua, which like my parents are from,
Okay.
and I lived there till I was 10.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I moved to North Carolina to live with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad and my siblings, and it was great, man. I started like boxing over there. I was very active.
You were a boxer?
Yeah.
Oh, is it your Instagram handle also like at
like
something
NC
boxer?
Yeah.
Fuck
That's
yeah.
where it comes from. Yeah.
Oh, I see. How
So-
long did you box?
I did it for like 4 years, so
4
throughout
years?
high school. Yeah. and
Oh,
then
throughout
after
high school.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And did you like compete as well?
I did small competitions like in North Carolina, but it wasn't like anything major.
Did you kill somebody? Oh, really? With those muscles, man, I'm pretty sure you will.
No, I was tiny, man. I was tiny.
Oh,
I was
really?
like 131 pounds back then.
That's Jess. No, I'm just joking. Jess is like 100. Okay, 130 pounds, yeah. And
Yeah.
So, and then when did all of this happen, man? What
This was-
steroids did you put in your system?
This-
Straight up, bro.
Hey, that's a tough secret, man.
Yeah.
But that was afterwards, man. So I joined. Actually, North Carolina, the Marine Corps boxing team was established over there,
Mhm.
and they'll come to our boxing gym every once in a while and we box with them. And I thought it was like the coolest thing ever, man. Like, cause they got paid to go around. Like, they went to like different places in Europe and they box for a living.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, cool. That's what I want to do.
Mhm.
So after high school, I was working for a year. So I graduated. I worked for a little while. I was still boxing,
Mhm.
and then I wanted to join the Marine Corps to join the boxing team.
Mhm. Marine Corps.
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
Marine Corps.
Mhm.
Yeah. So at 18, I joined the Marine Corps. I got
What's their entrance like? Like, how do you get into something like that?
first you have to take it's called an ASVAB, which
Mhm.
is somewhat similar to like the SAT sort of stuff.
Right.
So you take this test, and there's like math, reading, writing, stuff like that. You know, very basics.
Right.
And aside from that, there's very like practical applications or concepts for like very simple like electronics or like mechanics,
Uh-huh.
stuff like that. So you take it, you see how well you do, and depending on the score that you get,
Mhm.
is the job that you can qualify for.
Right, so there's multiple jobs within the Corps itself.
Yes, exactly.
Right,
Yeah, they call
right.
it MOSs. So, yeah.
MOSs.
Mhm.
What does MOS stand for?
That's a good question, man.
You know, that's okay.
No, but yeah, so you take that test, you get a certain score, and then you pick your job.
Okay.
hmm
Okay. And then what job did you pick? Like, what were
I
you?
was avionics
Avionics.
technician. Yeah, technician.
Bro, that makes no sense to me. What does avionics mean? Like, what do you do?
So
with avionics?
I worked fixing components of a plane.
Uh-huh.
So like the anti-missile system or like the radars or like
Damn, bro.
stuff like that. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds hella dope. That sounds like something from a movie.
Well, the cool thing was like the night vision goggles. We worked on those a lot.
Uh-huh.
So it was like play around with them for a little while, like at night and stuff like that.
Bro, honestly, man, I come from India. We have none of that shit there. We don't care about missiles. We don't care about the night. We just go to sleep. But anyway, so you were in the Marine Corps for how long?
I was there for 5 years.
Is that on contractual basis? Then I'm imagining.
Yeah. So
Right.
you do a contract from the very beginning, specifying the job. Some people go up in contract,
Mhm.
which means they don't have a job going in, and it's whatever they require after they graduate
Right.
from boot camp.
Right.
But
is the boot camp like harsh?
yeah, it's tough, man.
Yeah.
It's 3 months, and it's by far the toughest military boot camp.
Really?
Yeah.
So like, what kind of stuff do you get into?
It's a lot of it is mind games, man. They play that a lot. Just a lot of breaking you down mentally.
Mm-hmm.
So like for example, like I went during it was so this is in South Carolina, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's called Paris Island. This is the place.
Paris.
Paris Island.
Okay.
And it's I went during the summer and extremely hot, like it's really hot weather, and And yeah, like one of the times they had us like, so you eat they call it chow, like lunch, dinner, whatever the case might be.
Uh-huh.
So you have a certain amount of time to eat your chow, to eat your meal. But the drill instructors, they had us like going up and down, like we kept messing up supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
So they had us like running back and forth all the time between like a field, like a random
okay.
field, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And it was like, oh, you guys are messing up, like fix it. So we like kept doing it back and forth. And this guy in front of me, he was like probably like 220 pounds, like this real big guy.
Right.
And I was like 140 at the time, 142.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, the heat was getting to me, man, and the constant like back and forth. There was like fights all the time. So like I pushed this guy. I was like telling him to hurry up, and he turns around. And he's like this massive guy, man. So he just like grabs me and like picks me up.
You fucking in the dump now.
So I like grab him from like he's holding me up, and I'm like holding him down and stuff like that. And we started like really dumb stuff. I mean, afterwards you become like really good friends with everybody.
Right.
But like during the moment, like it really tests you like mentally, and it makes you like very angry at times at yourself a lot.
You know, something super interesting. We were talking about Nicholas Nassim Taleb,
Mm-hmm.
just like right before we started rolling. I don't know if we got some on the camera. He has a book called Anti-Fragile, right? Where he talks about systems that exist and then how we can modify the other systems that exist on a fragile system. So the anti-fragile is an idea where if you put something through, let's just say adversity, right? Let's just say suffering. Let's just say if you put it under pressure, right? How it evolves.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was listening to the condensation of that book over an app that I have on my phone yesterday, and it's a beautiful concept. So he's like, the anti-fragility of the system depends on the fragility of the constituents, right? So it's like evolution, right? We as individuals are very fragile. We die as soon as we're faced with something unexpected. But the system, evolution, is anti-fragile because what it does is it produces better specimens. It continuously builds on itself, right? And he says that you almost need to free up space. The dying of the individual is a freeing up of space for the system to occupy better constituents for itself, and then be pressured again. The immune system works this way, right?
Yeah.
The whole idea of vaccination works this way. And I wonder because it's almost grilling. It's cruel, borderline cruel to somebody who's not a part of the system that you were a part of, who's not been through the boot camp. It's like when you put somebody under so much pressure. I'm sure some people drop out, but I'm sure others emerge something like this. Like you always build like this close connection. You speak to the ex-military, the people who worked in armed forces here at GS, and you realize like they miss that.
Well, it works really well, man. Like you can attribute a lot of the things that you did in the military. So like boot camp and stuff like that. You're constantly under stress and you're under like these difficult situations and stuff. And a lot of them, man, can be like the same aspect can be put back into like school, like even here, because there's a lot of stress, man. Like you see, like.
Do you feel a lot of stress at Columbia? I mean, I've not addressed this question up until on my podcast, but I'm curious. Do you feel like, oh my God, there's too much work?
I felt my first semester at Columbia. So going back, so I did 5 years in the military, right? So after that, I got out and I applied to Columbia, and
did you know about the GS program already?
no, I found out on my way. Like, so I got out. I was like looking at different options on what to do and stuff. And one of my friends had gotten into Columbia from the military. Yeah, so he was a sergeant. I was the lance corporal at the time. So he got in, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it a try as well. So I came here. I had never been to New York. I applied, and I thought I was gonna get in. I ended up not getting in.
Or did you apply to GS?
Yeah.
GS and you did not get in.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
they were like,
fucking shitty, bro.
They were like, because you've been out of school for 5 years. And I was like, all right, cool. So that was like, I put all my eggs in one basket. So I ended up applying to school close by, BNCC, which is like a community college here in New York.
Where is it at?
It's in Manhattan, so it's like downtown Manhattan.
Oh, downtown Manhattan, okay.
Yeah. So I applied there. I got in. It was like last minute stuff. I did 1 year. I did really well. So I had like a 3.9 GPA, and I did like a whole bunch of extra stuff. And then I reapplied the following year, and I got in.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you started in spring?
I started the fall.
2017?
2017.
Oh, so we started together then. But it's interesting because I had a gap of 4 years after my high school as well, but they did not consider it. Also, I had no idea. I was not even thinking about Columbia. I'd gotten into NYU and I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to New York, bro. I'm going to fucking party, right? And then last minute Columbia's like, oh, you're accepted. And I'm like, wait, hold on, what university is this? And then I Googled
and you started like looking it up.
I was like, wait, hold on, that happened to me? Okay, fuck yeah, I'm going to Columbia. One of my friends sat me down and he's like, yo, if you choose NYU over Columbia, I'm never speaking to you again. I love that guy now. I'm like, we're best friends, bro. You made me pick the right wife, man.
Nice,
fuck
man.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you started in fall.
Yeah, and the first semester, man, was very rough because I had like this concept of going like biophysics. And
biophysics, is that a discipline?
That's a major, yeah.
Biophysics.
Mm-hmm.
What does that entail?
So you take all the very same concepts, the very same classes for physics, so all like the core classes for physics. So it's, so I took my first semester. It was mechanics and thermodynamics, and then you take like all the rest. Like
right.
Yeah.
But no, like I mean, I'm more curious as to what that results in. Like, what I've never heard of biophysics being a field. Like, what is
Yeah. So you take that approach. You take those physics classes as well as like biology, chemistry, orgo, and so you take these two completely different fields, or not necessarily completely different, but just two different fields, and then you bundle them together, and it's great, man. It works really well into like biotech and like bio.
I see.
Medical stuff.
I see.
Yeah.
Now that makes sense to me. Okay.
There's applications that you can put it into like the photosynthesis plant. So how like a plant absorbs the light. Because it's a really fascinating concept, man. So a photon of light comes from the sun, right? So it comes from the sun, it hits the leaf, and it hits so the photosynthesis process starts going on, and it loses no energy. Like by simple like Newtonian mechanics, it's like when you play pool, you hit a ball and then the ball transfers energy, but it loses energy as it's like hitting all the balls. Yeah.
Right.
So with photosynthesis in a plant, they discovered that the whole process, there's a lot of like going back and forth right between the photon of light, but it loses no energy throughout. So it was like really fascinating. But when we look at our solar panels, we only capture about like 16% of the
16?
energy. 16, yeah.
Wow, okay.
So it's, well, at least that's how it was back in like 2016, 2017 time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they so they do stuff like that. They do research in order to improve the energy consumption of the solar panels. So a lot of like biophysics aspect go into that.
But that's bloody. First of all, I'm hung over the idea. What is it that the chlorophyll, right? The light hits the chlorophyll, and it's like two kidney beans just like attached to each other like
sort
that.
Of, yeah.
I remember 4th grade biology.
There you go.
Yeah.
Handy.
But then, so like, how is it that it loses no energy? That's fascinating to me.
Because then you start looking into like quantum mechanics and how like a photon, well, this like all like Einstein type of stuff.
Yeah, as soon as you said quantum, I was like, fuck, now I don't know what's going to happen.
No, it's just simple. It's just like applying like in the very minute, the very small things, they behave very different than the way things behave for us.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Okay.
So this photon of light can behave both as a particle, so like the particle of light, and as a wave.
Yeah.
So the thing is that when it hits the leaf, the photon is a wave as well, so it can like travel throughout the whole like space, like instantly at the same time. So it like we perceive it as like going back and forth and like doing all this process, but in reality, it just does it automatically. So it actually never really happens.
Oh wow!
Really cool.
And we have not been able to replicate that with solar panels.
Yeah, exactly.
Bro, that'd be groundbreaking, man. That would change so much instantly, right? Because like you're moving. I mean, if it was like 16 to 100, it'd be still like 16 to 100. That's a leap.
Insane.
That's a leap.
Yeah.
You are 5 times, 6 times.
Well, quantum computers are like that's like the approach they're trying to like go with, but eventually be achieved. But for now, just still working on it.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, you were mentioning something about stress.
So it's that aspect, man. So it's a lot of like it was very difficult the first semester. So taking those classes, I was taking like calculus 1, that chemistry, university writing,
bro,
and
university writing is somebody's on my. I have my view on it, man.
Well, before that, man, I used to like write poetry and like different stuff.
Hey, we must have you read some of your poetry out. No, I'm not kidding. I'm gonna read one of mine too then. Because I used to write a bunch of poetry too, but
nice, man, nice.
Yeah.
But after that class, man, I was like, maybe I'm a horrible writer now. Like I felt, because it was intense. But yeah, the first semester, man, was really rough, and but yeah, a lot of the aspects that I had in the military, we just made it a lot simpler. It was like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, suck it up.
Right.
And deal with
And
stuff.
just go with it, right? See, in all honesty, I mean, I've not been doing tremendously well in terms of my grades. It's not like all A pluses. I've been doing on the fine margin. Like I'm happy with it. But I've not particularly experienced stress except for like a few days when it's like I have 2 midterms tomorrow and a paper due day after. Then I'm stressed. Say if that's Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm stressed Monday. Then I'm like, okay, I have a lot to do. I feel like if also because what I was doing before I got here were a couple of professional degrees, right? And they entail a level of hard work with no supervision to a degree that just is cruel. It's like by the time I finished doing what I was doing, I stacked up all my books and my notebooks. There were 2 towers slightly taller than me. So like 3 feet and 2 fucking full towers of books. That's it, right? That is the amount of stuff you have to do, and there is no supervision. They don't give you classes. You have to do it by yourself while you're working a 12-hour day. So like when I got here, I was like, oh, people are stressed, and I haven't felt particularly just stressed and not being able to sleep, that kind of stuff. But for sure, it's a decent amount of hard work, and I feel like the sooner people embody that, the sooner people get used to that, the sooner people stop blaming Colombia for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's with anything. Yeah.
Right, no,
That's
yeah.
with anything. In life in general, man, we tend to blame others for our actions, or for whatever case, something happens, you blame something else. So it was somebody else's fault, you know what I mean?
Personal responsibility, man.
Yeah.
It's, my friend calls it total ownership. I think he borrowed it from somebody. I feel like that idea, when it struck me, when I finally began to embody it, it changed so much for me. From my political views all the way to my personal life, in every sense. First you see whether you were wrong. First you check whether you were making a mistake. Correct that, then go on blaming the world, right? Yeah. And I see the fact that a lot of suicides and a lot of like generally bad stuff that is in some part related to stress happens on Columbia campuses and other Ivy Leagues, and I'm sympathetic to it. Like, I mean, I would, in an ideal world, I would not want them happening. But there are multiple factors to the entire equation. The fact that there are mental illnesses involved, right? You cannot factor out the amount of irrationality that seeps in a thought process that goes into a suicide because of the mental illness. The stress by itself, statistically speaking, is being handled by 99.9% of the people almost fine. Yeah. Right? You have to weigh in those statistics. Yeah. It's the 0.1% effect, right?
And those are the ones that are like emphasized.
Right. Oh yeah, it's called the salience effect. It's like what is the loudest, right? The minority effect. Yeah. Right? And that's fair. Like, I would rather have them live. They probably are great people. I've never known something like that.
No, I think it's just a matter of perspective, man. Like, it's, I mean, a lot of these kids, if you think about it, like putting yourself in their shoes, like, they come from like families who are like super competitive when it comes to like academics, their whole life, especially like young students, man. They come in, all they've done is like studied like heavily. They come into school and they realize that they're not the big fish anymore. The big fish in the small pond. They're the small fish in the ocean, and that gets to them, man. It gets to. It's a transfer of like personality. It's like a psychological thing. Like, it's like football players or like the Marines, like military people. I believe it's 22 suicides happen. I don't know how often. So there's this concept that there's a lot of military people who commit suicide, right?
After military, because that I've heard a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
The PTSD stuff. Yeah.
So a lot of it is, you can apply it to people in a certain field that have done something for so long, and they become accustomed to that thing, and they can't perceive themselves as being anything else but that. Yeah. So when their ego gets hit, and they start cracking and start seeing that they're not the person that they believe they were, or they had embodied for so long, they fucking go clueless, man.
Yeah.
They don't know how to deal with it.
It's a loss of narrative, isn't it? And
exactly.
It's interesting because when you said the big fish analogy, when you made that, that's exactly how I felt when I moved here. Yeah. Exactly. That was the exact phrase I used, because I come from a small town just south of New Delhi, right? Even if it's just almost practically New Delhi, it's still like a small town next to New Delhi, right? And I saw myself as the big fish. I was like, I mean, is this the average standard, right? I was like, getting accepted to Columbia was not like, oh my god, did that just happen, like, which is the common imposter syndrome narrative at GS. That didn't happen to me. I was like, yeah, of course, like, I am smart enough. I get here, 5 days into it, I realized I'm like fucking nothing. Like, all these 18-year-olds were way smarter than me. And then it took a whole while to transition into just like, getting humbler, man. Just like accepting the fact that you probably are not the biggest fish.
And that's what's hard, man, for a lot of people.
For sure.
In general, man.
No, I get that.
There's a really good book. It's called Mastery. It's a great book, man.
Who's
Robert Greene.
Okay.
Robert Greene, Mastery. It's a phenomenal book, man, and he talks about pretty much how to become a master at how you can become a master, right? Like at anything, and there's a lot of like he talks about a lot of different people, a lot of like scientists, a lot of creators and artists and stuff like that. But in it, man, he has the same narrative of changing, being humble, and being able to be an apprentice. And in order to do that, like kids, man, like kids are phenomenal at that because they enjoy learning so much. They're like curious, curious little humans, man. So kids, they're very humble and they learn stuff and they pick it up really quick. I mean, a lot of it, of course, has to do with like
the development of the brain,
neurological development. But nonetheless, they're able to adapt really quick because they take the adult as being a figure of embodiment, like of greatness.
Imitation,
yes, exactly. Yeah. So they take it and they apply it and they learn really quick. And for us, as we grow older, and it's natural, man, it's just for everybody, we tend to not do that. We tend to be very stuck in certain ways, and you think you're like better than you really are, and you're not able to be humble.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I sort of disagree on that, but the child thing is also very right because the Anti-Fragile, the book, it mentions children as a system of anti-fragility as well. They tumble, they fall, they break, and they learn, and they get stronger, right? I have forever thought that one of my biggest strengths, and this is me personally, is what I call the treadmill of curiosity. It just never ends, right? What is next? What can I know more, right? And that just keeps pushing me further towards direction. And then I let the direction take its natural course. But it's a forte. It's something we must absolutely be unwilling to forego. Hold your curiosity so tight. Probably it's gonna get you so much distance on your journey, right? As long as you want to know more. And then you said that it's almost natural that when people age, it sort of subsides itself. I think if we tried enough. We could maintain that level of curiosity. If we take it into classes, if we take it into the books that we read, if we take it into the TV shows that we watch, there's just so much absorption happening. It's the same idea as a solar panel, right? The more you absorb, you don't need to read 50 books, you need to read 5, but you need to absorb them well. Because it's almost all, and not just that, there is the element of ego, you're right, as we grow up. Not Freudian ego, but like the ego, the idea of yourself. Oh, this is me. Not this is going to be me when I do this. It's just this idea of me, and I struggled with that forever, up until the summer sometime. I did a bunch of DMT, but jokes apart, that's 100% accurate. I mean, as a core value, I feel one thing that my parents did absolutely perfect was help me embody curiosity well.
This is phenomenal, man.
And I feel like to some degree, this podcast comes out of that. It's like, what can I know from Brian? What can I learn from Rishi? What can I learn from Michael? Like. That's the whole idea. But tell me, man, because it's fascinating to me that somebody who's as stressed out as you is as much in shape as well. Like, how do you? Is that like an anti-stressor? Is that like something you do to get away with stress, or do you just like bodybuilding and stuff? Or are you into bodybuilding?
No, I don't do bodybuilding. No. I just work out now, man.
Mm-hmm.
I did powerlifting for a little while. So from the beginning was boxing, right? Mm-hmm. All through high school. Then I stopped boxing. Because the Marine Corps canceled the boxing team. So when I got in, they canceled it, and I was like, oh,
bro,
great.
Fuck. Fuck, that's so bad.
Yeah.
In Hindi, we have a word called KLPD, which literally translates into a fucking bad shot to your erect penis. Basically means like you went in for something that you wanted and you got blue balls. Basically blue balls. You got blue balls. That's more accurate. But it stands. It's called KLPD. If you ever need to use with a KLPD, fucking it's the funniest thing ever. But yeah, tell me.
Yeah. So they honeycombed me, man. They put this idea of a boxing team, and that was in 2011, like close to the end of 2011. So I was like, all right, cool. Then they canceled it because it was like the budget cuts and stuff.
Right.
During that time. And I mean, it was great overall. I ended up doing my job. Mm-hmm. So I got stationed in Japan for 2 years, and I started doing marathons. So I did 2 marathons in Japan, and I did like a small triathlon.
Oh wow! What triathlon would include jumping, running?
Swimming. So you swim. I think it was like
swim, run, and then bike, right?
Swim, bike, and then run. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow, man. Bro, do you know who Dave Goggins is?
No.
Honestly, check that guy out for sure. If robustness, if commitment is to be learned ever, there is only one dude. His name's Dave Goggins. So his story is super interesting. You'd probably like it. There is this very not underground exactly, but it's very haphazard kind of a ultra marathon event. It's not even ultra marathon. It's like 100 miles that you have to run in a team. So you get 4 people together. You bring your stuff and you run a mile round 100 times, one by one. You relay it, right? So this guy walks in there alone by himself. He's 250 pounds with a gallon of water and a bag of tortilla chips. That's all he walks in with, right? He walks in there, and there's a bunch of others just like professional marathon runners. He's heavy as fuck, he's fat, right? Fuck it, he says, I'm going to run this shit. His story is something like this. He ran the first 30 miles and he broke his ankles, both of them. He realized 30 miles. 70 miles into it, he peed blood because his kidneys failed. By the time he finished his 100 mile, he was dead tired, but he was not sure if he's done 100. He was so delusional. He ran one more by himself while the others fucking sat and watched what he was doing. Dude, that guy now, I think he was in the Marine Corps too. He's a legend when it comes to the Marine Corps. He survived the boot camp thrice also. If I'm sure, if he was probably a Navy SEAL or a Marine Corps, I'm not sure. But that guy, follow him on Instagram, man. Listen to him on Joe Rogan. By the way, shout out Joe Rogan. Fucking gay. Listen to him on Joe Rogan, man. That guy, his story is like, oh my god, this is...
Wow.
That's the kind of commitment I want to embody to my fucking passion, man. So now, so you ran a bunch of marathons and then...
Yeah, and then I got into weightlifting. So I started doing just regular weightlifting. I did like a little bit of like bodybuilding. I did CrossFit for a little while. Then I got into like Olympic lifting, and then I got into powerlifting closer like to the end. By the time I was getting ready to get out, I actually competed a few times here in New Jersey. So I did a few competitions like after I got out, and yeah, so that's pretty much it. So it's been adapted over time. It's something like
I'm sure
it's a regular thing now. And I mean, when it comes to like being productive, I try to be. Well, I don't really try. It just like tends to happen. Just like add more stuff to it to see how far I can push myself. That's more. It's not necessarily like I'm trying to like achieve a certain thing. But I just like pushing myself and see like the limits of things that I can achieve, both like mentally and physically. So I do. That's why I do fasting. We're talking about.
Yeah,
fasting.
I was like fucking preaching to the choir, bro. I've been on it for like, I don't know, 46 hours now. I've had fucking no food. Salt and water for life. Salt and water, yes, represent. But yeah, so I was going to ask you about your nutritional regimen as well, because I'm sure that evolved. When I started, I was like, first I need to cut out all the fucking shit that I'm eating, and I was eating way too much. I used to be heavier, so I cut that out, and then I got fit to a certain degree that I was like, now I need to build muscle. So I started adding more protein and carbs to it, and then all vegetarian protein and carbs, because back then I was still living in India and it's a predominantly vegetarian society. So I pushed in a bunch of fucking kidney beans and a chickpea into my system, just like bulked the fuck up. Then I got here and I met my roommate Perry, and he told me about the keto diet, and I was like, you know what, I might just give it a try. That was 1 year ago, bro, exactly. I was gonna give it a try for a month and just be off it forever, enjoy my fucking carbs. No. Not gonna happen. I fucking love the mental state it gives me, man.
It's great, man.
It really is. Yeah. And I want to get into that too, but I want to know what your nutrition regimen is right now, or like how it's adapted over time.
It depends, man. I don't have like anything like specific. I've tried a lot of different diets. I've tried a lot of different stuff. I do the fasting for sure, just because I enjoy it, man. I'm so used to it by now. And
how long do you fast?
Usually I eat like once a day. Sometimes I go a little more. Sometimes I do like 20 hours and have like a 4-hour window to eat. So it depends, man. But for the most part, I have like a 2-hour window to consume all my meals for the day.
So 22-hour fasting.
Yeah, usually.
And what are the benefits that you personally get out of that?
I love the mental clarity, man. Like I feel like it gets me like very proactive, man. Like doing things. Like I don't have to like. I'm not thinking about food or like what time is it right now. I have to go eat and stuff like that.
Right.
So
you clear your schedule in that sense. Like
yeah,
you have
exactly.
time for yourself.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah. There's more time. There's a lot of research as well that has been done with it in regards to like certain proteins in your brain that gets like apoptosis. I don't know if you
What is
remember
it called?
that apoptosis.
Apoptosis.
Yeah, from like biology, which is like cell destruction.
Autophagy.
Hmm?
Autophagy. That's how I know it. Where
Okay,
like your stronger cells eat your weaker cells. Is that what you mentioned?
It's like cell destruction. Some cells like pretty much
burst open. Yeah.
exactly.
So weaker cells, you're in a cancer-killing state essentially.
And that's exactly what happens, man. But it helps. So it helps like regulate your system, man. It's just phenomenal.
And beyond that, I also feel like it, for me personally, because I have been addicted to food all my life up until I started exercising the regimen around it. It gives me a sense of control over myself in all areas of my life. Now I can, even if I'm tired, I can be like, go to the gym. You have to work out. And that's just the physical end. I am tired, I'm exhausted, I'm stressed, right? I'm at the edge of myself, but the exam's tomorrow. Pick your book up. You can do it.
Absolutely, man. It's like adding more and more things that you can build on, and
Basically.
then you become a machine, man. Yeah. So that's kind of what I do, man. Like I wake up around like 4:45 for like 5 in the morning. Go to the gym, work out.
Right.
Then I have class at 8:40.
So. Oh, you 8:40s, bro? I never make it to my 8:40s. I got high last night. I was like, fuck it, 8:40s. You can pass yourself. But no, that's so so in the same race that I was mentioning, Dave Goggins was a part of. I forget his name. This guy who owns, I think, the Atlanta, the football team from Atlanta. He owns that. He was also there, right? He is from Long Island. So he saw this guy. He's like, you know what, dude, you weirdo, you come live with me, right? I want to learn how you have all this mental strength. So this guy, Dave Goggins, moves with him, and he takes this other guy to their gym, to his own personal gym, because this guy's a fucking millionaire, billionaire, whatever. And he's like, how many pull-ups do you think you can make? And this guy's like, I don't know, maybe 10. He's like, you want to make 1,000. And this guy's like, what, 1,000? Over like 100 days? He's like, no, start doing them, right? And they get to like 50, 55 and he crashes and he's dead, right? And then he does the same the next day. And then he does the same the next day. He's like, what are you trying to do? He's like, it's only your mind that's holding you back. And then this guy does 100, right? It's essentially that. It's like, the more you stack up, the more you get used to the anti-fragile system, the more you get used to in a pressure. People feel like, if I eat this chocolate, I'm going to feel better about my exam tomorrow. No. No. And that's my next point. It's like, if we could just like, if Colombia, if there is something they can do, is clean their nutritional output for the students, because that is going to help with a lot with the stress.
It will, man. It's all about like certain actions that you take. Like Einstein, man, he talks about compound interest. He talks about it being
what interest?
Compound
interest.
Compound interest. He says it's the eighth wonder of the world, right? And most people just take it like it's like, all right. I mean, I see it like in a different perspective. I see like if you were to create like a graph, like a XY fucking plane, right?
Right.
And you have like time in one direction and productivity on the Y-axis. Every action that you take now just compounds over time. Like you might not see it like at the beginning. So doing the fasting, you might not see like much result. I mean, there is plenty of result at the beginning, but you might not like perceive it to be that big. But then over time, then you start adding more stuff to it, and then the graph starts going exponentially, man.
Exponential
growth.
Curves up.
Yep.
Yeah. I call it bleeding out. I literally call it bleeding out. There's so many things that you do. I played chess all my life, bro. Since I was like 4, my mom got me into chess. She bought me a chessboard. My dad plays me. He beats me. I was like, what the fuck is this man doing? Oedipus complex fitting. I was like, I'm gonna beat this man. 5 days later, I beat him. I do. But then I got into chess heavily. I played chess professionally for like 12 years of my life. Right? What is that got to do with things? I don't know. But I'll tell you this: I love solving problems now.
It's great.
Give me a problem. Give me a problem. Give me a puzzle. Politics is a mental puzzle. If you can solve it. Otherwise, it's just a conundrum. But it's like it exposed me to the hardships. It's like the more tough the situation gets, the more confident I get, because I've seen that. I've seen when the board's locked, jawed, just like you have no pieces to move. It's literally like, if I move anything, I'm going to lose. But then what do? It gives you strategies to life.
And yeah, exactly, man. You might not be able to apply it like in a practical sense. I mean, there's plenty of applications that you can think of it.
But theoretically, it leads out into other things.
Yeah, exactly. And just the mere act of doing something. Same with math, like calculus 3 right now. Even if you
differentiation, fucking hate you. Exponent, fucking.
Even if you never apply it to anything else outside of the class itself, just the act of having done it, man.
Right.
The act of learning this complexity
of the world.
Yeah. Creates new neurological pathways that had never been created in your brain before.
Right.
So you're fortifying your own brain, man, by doing something that you might think it has no applications after it, but they apply, man. They make you more creative. They make you
100% agree, man. 100%. Like, have you seen one of those things on Facebook that pops up from time to time saying, "Oh, they should teach us how to do our taxes instead of teaching us math"? You're stupid as fuck if you think that. You know why? Because I learned how to do taxes.
Short-sighted, man. That's a lot of people are very short-sighted. It's like people who prefer fixing. I mean, of course there's this. You have to maintain a certain quality of living when it comes to the roads and stuff like that, and the government's aspect on those sort of stuff. But then they're very neglective when it comes to funds for NASA or like science things. Mm-hmm. They're like, no, we don't need that. We need to focus on certain stuff.
Right.
But the biggest thing is going back to economics is the creation of ideas and research grow a lot faster than supplies. So putting money on the side for future things are by far a great thing, but people can't really
No, I want to get into that. I want to first hand get into your investment career and your real estate career, but in a while, because I have. So I literally, that's all part of what I learned before I got here was how to do taxes.
Yeah.
My dad's a tax lawyer. My mom's a judge in tax courts. Tax is where I live, right? I know how to do taxes. It's not fun. One. Two, it's something you can learn by yourself if you were fucking curious enough to, right? But fucking calculus, like you said, neurological pathways, and not just that, bro. I never knew if I was to push it in a slanting direction. That is how do I calculate the force, right? It might not be the most practical application of it, but you understand the world better.
It makes you wonder. That's the cool thing, man. You really wonder about stuff. I had a discussion with this chick from she's studying arts, right?
Oh, he means girl, by the way. It's not sexist. I swear. I'm just messing
no.
with you, bro.
So this girl, right? So we're discussing about art,
right?
And how great, how fascinating, how enchanting art can be, especially if you go in that field, so you can see things completely different or in more amplified notion than I can if I'm not an art major, right?
You know what? I took a bunch of film classes starting, right? So I took the first film class and I did fine. I got an A-, but I struggled throughout that class. I had no idea what was happening. I'd be shut in the discussion, and me being shut is a rare occasion, bro. I talk, and that's all I do. Hence the podcast. But, I was almost absent up until the last month when I met my friend who's a MFA student, right? And he basically started telling me how to really understand art, visual art, and then cinematic visual art in general. And then I took a course over the spring, which was my second semester, and I cruised through it to a solid A. Without I got A+ on there, bro. And I was like, wait, hold on, how did that happen? Now, what I gathered retrospectively is that I have started understanding cinema so poetically. It's almost beyond just entertainment curiosity that gets me to watch cinema. It's intellectual curiosity too. And I don't necessarily understand the technicalities as well. I don't necessarily know what the shots mean or what the shots are or any of that. But there is a fluency to good cinema. There is a poetic metric to good cinema, and now I understand it, and that's allowed me to understand almost all other art forms better. Even readings, I see sense as why these words were used, why particularly here, and there's beauty in that. I had an artist on the podcast last week. He's a GS student as well. His name is Noam Aref, and he talked about how he believes the virtues of storytelling as to how storytelling impacts us, and then his ideas on immersive storytelling. And he kept saying that everything is beautiful, and that's quintessentially what you'd expect from an artist, right? You would never expect a trader who's fucking high on coke, just pushing numbers to say something like that. But I was like, bro, I sort of disagree. There are some things that are absolutely abhorrent, but I thought about it after the podcast, and I feel yes, there is a sense of coincidental fluency to the workings of this world that in one fashion or the other is beautiful, undeniably.
Yeah, so same thing, those, yeah, the GS student you're talking about. So he's he obviously has a high a high perspective on art, right? So he can look at it and see beauty in it and see a certain like style that I might not be able to capture because of my lack of like art skills.
Education.
Yeah, exactly.
You illiterate fuck.
Exactly. But then like she was like back to the girl I was talking to.
Right.
She was bashing on like art and stuff, like art being the I guess like the demonic figure that destroys art. And
Art being the
well, science being the demonic,
figure.
that destroys art. And I like tend to disagree with her. I think like with the chemistry class that I took and like in like physics class and stuff like that, you're able to perceive things. Like she might have a better keen eye for certain perspective in art. Yes, I completely will agree with that. But then like a person who loves science and like in math and different stuff can look at like a flower and perceive like what we talked about like the chemical balance that's going on, like the beauty inside, like the scientific perspective of like the photosynthesis effect and stuff like that a person who's not into science will not be able to demonstrate. So I think there's ultimately a very they're technically intertwined, man. Like both concepts, art and science can be extremely intertwined.
But let me add a perspective to that because I was thinking about it as you said, and I've heard that a bunch of times, and it's almost accurate. You know why? It's the routes that these two disciplines take. So science takes a literal route, right? It's going to explain photosynthesis to you in words, not in vague metaphors and metaphorical,
emotions, yep.
Right? And emotions and metaphor is the route that sort of art takes, right? And they inherently clash because it's like the artists might feel like science is invading on their territory. A flower that was beautiful because it was such a wonder is no longer the wonder that was painted by daffodils, by Williams Wordsworth in Daffodils, if I'm correct, right? It's now, like you know why it is, there's a revolution.
Pixelated now, right. And everything's taken
right.
apart, yeah.
Pixelated, that's a good word. It's high resolution now, but but true art I think transcends all of that, and that's the beauty. And I'll tell you why. It's because true art transcends both literal and metaphorical meanings. In my understanding of art creates a bracket. It does not create a picture at all. It creates a bracket where you paint the picture, where the individual paints the picture. That's what's funny. Art appeals to individuals differently, but science appeals to individuals just the same. In that sense, I feel like art can take precedence over science if it is done correctly.
Well, there's this concept, it's called physicalism, right? Physicalism is the idea that anything can be explained through science, or more specific physics. Everything can be explained through physics, through mathematics. So let's take, for example, an idea that you have. So you have a certain thought, right? So I can explain it in way of physiology, and there's a certain neurological pathway of electrons or of energy traveling, right? So a certain neurons are being fired, and that's what producing the idea that you have.
Right.
Okay. And then so I'm explaining a psychological event in a physical event, and then I can take that even further and explain it in like a biological term, right? So I can explain the neurons, I can explain your nervous system and how it interacts with the environment and stuff like that, and from that point I can take it even further and explain it in like chemistry and how like the certain like potassium
neurotransmitters,
exactly.
Potassium, calcium.
So everything, and then ultimately everything that's chemistry based can be explained through physics. Physics that states that everything that there is can be explained through physics. It's called physicalism. But there's this other notion that there's still something that's not explained, and that's the experience of it. The feeling,
perception.
It's kind of like saying, let's say, it's like an old saying. There's this scientist, right? She's in a room, in a black and white room. She has a computer that's black and white, and she learns everything there is to know about the world, right? So everything she learns through this black and white screen. And then one day she's released, she gets out, so she leaves the room, and she goes out and she sees the flower for the first time. But she knew all about the wavelength and the different aspects of the color. So she knew everything there was to know about the color. But the experience itself, is it something new, or is it like, or she would have known exactly how she was gonna feel?
That sounds something to me, something like the allegory of the cave by Plato. You heard that? Yeah. You know, it's sort of similar.
It's similar,
like,
yeah, similar.
You've
concept.
only seen images because computers were obviously not a thing, right? So like you see images now.
Yeah.
Now you get to go out, and then he adds one more layer. When you come back,
Yeah.
you are the mortal enemy. You are the crazy one, right?
Yep, exactly.
It's just like beautifully, just like spins it off. That's accurate, bro. But I'm curious, how did you like make the transition from wanting to study renewable energy and biophysics to like now what do you do now? That's more of a preceding question here.
I think it's not necessarily the career that I'm choosing, or the major that I'm choosing. I think it's just curiosity, man. I'm just a very curious person to begin with.
High five, man. You have to do that. Fuck yeah.
So when I was in Marine Corps, man, it was I started getting into like philosophy through exercise. So yeah, so I was doing a lot of like fitness stuff right during that time. Then I started reading Eastern philosophy. So I got into like I read like the Bhagavad Gita.
You read the Bhagavad Gita?
I read parts of it, yeah.
Bro, that's a whole different conversation we need to have. I took a whole class in fucking Bhagavad Gita, bro.
Oh,
Here
nice,
on
man.
campus.
Nice.
There's a professor, his name's Jack Holly, right? If you ever want to discuss that with him, he's the prime scholar on the Hindu pantheon of religions, and he's worldwide the prime scholar. A white man. Like none of us brown men were good enough for that shit. And he speaks like good Hindi too. Me and him, we got along very well. And
nice.
I wrote my final paper on the Bhagavad Gita as a comparative analysis between the various interpretations that have been.
Nice.
So did you read the raw text or did you read an interpretation of it?
Interpretation, yeah.
By whom?
I can't remember, man.
Oh, okay.
It was I grabbed the book from the library in the military, like in the Marine Corps.
Right.
And yeah, so.
Did you know Robert Oppenheimer? Was that the name? Can you Google it? The guy who with the Manhattan Project. His name was Oppenheimer something. He was the one who made the atom bomb.
Yeah.
And when he released it, he quoted the Bhagavad Gita. I am the creator and destroyer of all worlds, and then he presses the button, and that's when Japan explodes.
Wow, really?
Bro, yeah. That's so and literally, and it's part of the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, when he's taking his Virat avatar, which is like the ultimate form in literal translation, he's speaking to Arjun on the battlefield, and Arjun is conflicted, right?
When he's thinking about
whether I should attack, man. Yeah. And then he says, "Oh, you don't worry. You have no role. You practically you don't make those choices. It's inconsequential. I am the creator and destroyer of worlds. You just act it out, right? You stand for the moral good. That's your responsibility, and that's it. You don't care about the consequence. And that's a recurrent theme throughout Hindu philosophy. Do not care about the fruits. There is the third verse in Bhagavad Gita is Karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan, and then I don't remember the second half of it, but it literally means your job is to do. You are a doer, that's it. You are a means of action, and that's it. You are not the thinker, you are not the programmer, you are not the idea.
Yeah,
that's me.
Exactly.
That's me. And
well, there's because I was doing a lot of meditation during that time as well. So I got like into like the whole like Hinduism, Buddhism. I got into like Zen.
Oh yeah,
that's where I got this from.
I saw that.
So
that's a great tattoo, man. Honestly,
thanks,
I'm
man,
tempted
thanks.
to get the same one. But I need like bigger forearms for that, bro. I'm gonna be ashamed of myself.
No, but yeah. So for meditation, man, they at first they were like teaching me to think of myself as like I'm not my thoughts. I am not my feelings. I am the watchers of this going on. And then after a while, man, you realize that okay, if I'm the watcher, then who's the watcher? Who's watching the watcher? And then you see that it's all like a fugazi or blowing smoke. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a great way of meditation. I enjoyed it.
Did you ever get into Pink Floyd?
Yeah, I love Pink Floyd.
There is a song, Set the Controls at the Heart of the Sun. And that song has the lyrics, it says, breaking the grapevine, watching the watcher, something like that. That's like, this one time I was struggling with the concept of ego. This is over the summer, right? So I was like, fuck it, I'm so tired. I'd gathered enough knowledge, I just couldn't let go, right? So I roll myself a joint, I go to Central Park by myself. I'm like, I'm going to figure this problem out forever. And I come up with like 3 principles. And those principles have stuck with me since. And they've helped me like almost walk through life so much easier. and they involve the watcher and the doer. Like they involve that, right? So I was like, the watcher, which is the higher me, which is the supreme me, right, is always going to treat the lower me with love. The lower me, on the other hand, is always going to treat the higher me with truth and honesty. And then finally, both of them are going to meet halfway. It's never going to be that the watcher is just like, come, be me, or the doer's like, you know what, surrender, it's okay, be the imperfect one. No, you have to meet halfway and then keep pushing the halfway up. Those were like along the lines of how I built those principles. And in everyday situations, you can almost act it out. I will never lie. I will promise to never lie. To you, to myself, never. And I will always promise to treat myself with love. And by that definition, you with love, right? And then it's always going to be halfway. I'm going to make the effort. If I'm genuinely interested in myself and in you and in this project, I'm going to make an effort. I'm going to make breakfast for Michael. Again, next Saturday. Michael, you ready for that? But yeah, I had a stint with the Eastern philosophy myself. So when I was back in India, I was beginning of my stoning phase was somewhere in 2014. 2015 onwards, I would just invite people over to my place every night. We just sit in the garden. I hope my parents do not watch this. We'd sit in the garden and we'd smoke and we'd talk. Eventually it got to, the word got around that there's a dope place that this guy has, you can come smoke, and then people would randomly come up and want to talk. Eventually I made a format. I was like, you bring the topic at the table. You bring the topic, you bring the intoxicant, whatever you want to do. I bring the rules of the conversation. I decide how the conversation goes. And I started a conversation club. We would just talk. And it would bleed into philosophy, psychology, politics, religion, emotions, right? Personal life. By itself, it would just get there. And I had such a good time. I learned so much. And most of my philosophical exposure was Eastern back then, right? I still haven't read Plato. But I learned so much through that process, man. It was through fragments. People would bring fragments. Yeah. That's all people would bring. They were not compiled scholars.
Yeah, it wasn't scholars, but they knew the concepts and a little by little you started. Yeah.
And even if they were attempting, even if I was attempting, right, it would just form that one small block. And over 4 years, the condensation's been so beautiful now. I find myself fitting in an intellectual environment such as Columbia. I find myself competing. I find myself thriving, right? Small things, they make such a big impact. And you're almost always too late to realize that. You're almost always catching up with how time treats you and like how you treat time. It's phenomenal.
Well, if you take relativity into account, Einstein, time is it's a very easy concept.
You gotta use this Einstein shit that you're talking about, bro. As soon as you answer, like, okay, this is gonna go over my head. No, I know. The concept of relativity is fantastic, bro. You know, it really makes you think. I took a class in astronomy as well, and then I am a big fan of Neil deGrasse Tyson. Like, I listen to him as much as I can, and
he's great, man. He's an educator. He's
truly an educator.
Yep. Truly, he brings out the beauty of science that people tend to hate.
And like an erudite, like he borrows concepts from other disciplines to make sense of it, right? So imagine, like when you said that light behaves as a photon, as a particle and as a wave. I think that's still a conundrum as far as I'm aware. Like we still don't understand if there's any other particles that do that, right? And then apart from that, then you add the concept of relativity and then the expanse of the universe to it, and then you wonder, the theory of the universe is beginning to shake when you add those three, and then the quantum aspects of it, and then what are the macro aspects called? There's quantum theory, and then there is
well, there's this simple like regular like classical physics, relativity, which measures the very big.
Relativity. So basically, relativity and quantum mechanics don't work together, right? They have inherent contradiction.
And then they have this concept of like string theory, which tries to like bind everything together. Yeah. But they're still
working on it. They're still working on it.
Well, that's the beauty of it, man. Because I think in order to be like a physicist, man, you gotta like love it. Like you gotta like really be all
that
about
is
it.
art in science. Right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right there. You have to imagine what's going on and then start doing it. And very few people manage to do that. So that's why we know Newton and we know Einstein and we know what's his name, Darwin.
Well, you have you heard of Faraday?
No.
Faraday, he helped a lot with the concept of electromagnetism and uniting both concepts together. And this guy, he was from, I believe, London. And I may be wrong, but I think he was like from London. But he came from a very poor family, right? He was very, very poor family. I think he was one of 10 kids.
Oh wow, that sounds like India straight up. Bro, we have 1 billion people. Okay, you keep talking. It's okay. Does your country need like people to do shit? I'll send some more.
There you go. Send more.
Okay, sign a contract, Rishi. Bring out the contract. Keep their passports. Okay, they run away very quick. Yeah. So you were saying.
Yeah. So this guy, man, he came from nothing. He had like no money. He wasn't. He came from like family name or anything. He was very poor, and his dad was. I think he was. A blacksmith, I think, but after a while, he got a job because he was so curious about everything. He was Christian, and for him, like everything was implied that it's a lot like the Atman, you know, like the Brahman that's in everything.
Right.
Yeah. So
the what mind?
The Brahman, like the Atman.
Oh, the Brahman. The Brahman. Oh yeah, the
Brahman.
Brahman. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wow, man, he's speaking straight up my language, bro. It's like fuck yeah.
So in for him, like Christianism was the same approach in that God is in everything, right? So he had the same view, but he was taking it away from religion and into like science. So he would like wonder about like all this really cool stuff. And as a kid, he wandered and wandered and wandered. Eventually, he went to this to a bookstore, right? And he met the owner, and he became really good friends with the owner. Eventually, he got a job as a bookkeeper, and it was great for him because he would read a lot and read and read. He was super curious, man, but he was very poor. After that, he met this I think it's a chemist. His name is Viz. So a really
what's
famous,
his name?
The Viz.
The Viz. I say that right?
Yeah. Well, I might butcher it too.
That's
but
okay.
Yeah, here we go.
Viz, you fucking yeah.
But yeah, so this guy, man, he met him, and through meeting him, he was able to change his life because he met this chemist. He took a whole different approach to his life, and because he was so curious about stuff, man, he discovered things that would have never been discovered.
Like for what, for instance, do you know?
The relationship between magnetism
and electricity.
Yeah.
This guy, what's his name?
Ferré.
Yeah,
Ferré.
Oh wow, okay, yeah.
And Einstein was like all about him. Like he used a lot of Einstein's concepts were based on his work.
Right. So, but no, I definitely want to transition into what you do because that seems to occupy my primary curiosity with your life right now and your role as a student at Columbia. And as somebody I know, and hopefully we'll be great friends by the end of the conversation. So what is it that you're doing now?
Right now, I'm doing economics.
And you're a full-time Columbia student?
Yeah, full-time.
4 classes, 5?
I'm taking 4 classes. I'm taking 14 credits. I was taking 18 and I was like, let me drop one.
Let me be realistic here, okay? Okay, I will graduate 1 semester later, but I will not kill. Okay, yeah.
Exactly. So I'm taking 14 classes. I got a business. I do real estate.
Real estate?
Yeah. So I buy houses in for the most part, houses that need some elbow grease that need to be fixed up. I buy them, I fix them up, and then I resell them.
Okay.
I have a property in North Carolina which I'm renting out, and then
that's off the market.
Yeah.
That's off the market. Okay.
And then this other house in Detroit is getting fixed up, and then we're just gonna sell it.
If somebody's looking for a house in Detroit, you know who to contact. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly, and now I'm moving over to Florida as well.
Okay.
And I do trading as well, so I do like investing.
You trade in stocks?
Stocks, yes.
Stocks and Forex, you mentioned, right?
Well, I might get into Forex later. I'm still learning the process.
Oh, you're still learning the process. What are you reading for that?
I think mentorship is the most important thing to anything, man. Like whether it's school, whether it's anything that you really want to achieve something big at. Like I say, Ferré, his mentor was the chemist. He became his mentor, and he learned everything there was to learn. First, he started out as a lab assistant, so he was like cleaning all the equipment and stuff like that, doing like very minimal work, and then eventually, boom, you got this phenomenal guy.
Right.
And that was thanks to the mentor. I think having a mentor is very important.
So who's your mentor with this? Do you have like one mentor for all aspects of your life, or are there multiple mentors?
No. I think in general, with people overall, I think you can pick and choose different stuff from people. I don't think there's anybody that can't teach you anything. Yeah,
except
anything or everything.
Yeah. Or Jesus, man. Or Moses. Wait, hold on. We have 3 now. I think your theory is too much. No, but for sure. So, do you have multiple mentors for multiple aspects?
Yeah, like for example, like when I was boxing or like exercise in general, I take like Muhammad Ali as being like a great mentor.
Right.
But I take things that go into what I want to learn about him,
Right.
or like what helps me, and then everything else I just kind of like let it
Right.
out. Yeah.
Bro, I think it's also, I've been thinking about this idea of visualization, right? It's not necessarily that you have, maybe it is necessary because I've almost never really had a specified mentor, but I've had a lot of ideals,
Mm-hmm.
right? I've had, or idols. I've had a lot of people I've looked up to be like, this is what I want to be, this is
Mm-hmm.
how I want to do it. And then I do everything so that the next time I meet them, I do it better than them. That's my idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, if we ever met in the gym and I saw you working out, I'm like, okay, yeah, this guy's fucking, yeah, I know, you know. And then I'm gonna ask you about everything, which I'm doing right now. Secret's being borrowed, bro. And then I'm gonna do everything, or at least try everything to be there.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I approach it. But I feel like maybe I should start borrowing idols and mentors of history instead
Oh, most
of,
important, man.
Yeah.
Some of my biggest influencers have been dead for hundreds of years, man. So,
Bro,
like,
that's a powerful quote. That's a powerful fucking quote right there. No, I'm not kidding. That's going to be the headline of this podcast. That's fucking A, bro.
I
Yeah.
read a lot, man. I enjoy reading. I enjoy learning in general, which kind of sucks, cause like in class when we learn like different concepts, uh, it's really cool stuff. But then I get like on a whole different like learning, like I diverge from whatever we're supposed to be learning, and I go on like a knowledge tantrum of like different ideas and different
Right.
stuff, and it's cool, man. I enjoy it.
It's going to get you returns, bro. That I can promise. I think
Mhm.
the only fairness I see in this world, because let's be real, the world's a place full of suffering. But the only fairness I see consistent is investment, right?
Mhm.
If you invest in yourself, you're always going to get returns.
Yeah,
All you
absolutely.
have to do is
man.
wait the time out. Maybe you don't get it. Maybe your children do. You
Mhm.
know, maybe the principles that you make for yourself don't work for you. Your circumstance was the suckiest circumstance it could be. But your children will absorb that, and they will make a better life for themselves. And what do you care about?
Yeah.
What do you? At the end of the day, what's your end game? It's to me, it's creating a happy environment around me. As much as the environment can be broadened is fine, right?
Mhm.
So it'll start with my family. It eventually has to. It starts with my friends. It starts with making breakfast for Michael or coffee for you, or the idea that I want to leave you with a smile once we're done with this podcast, right? And then it expands to the Columbia community, New York in general, while I'm here, and then from there, I think that's solid, bro. The way you invest in yourself, as a full-time student as well. So like there is complication with that, you know.
Yeah. There's times that I don't sleep much, but it's good, man. I enjoy it. I mean,
Are you a fan of the legal team?
no, man.
No,
I'm good.
okay.
Yeah, thanks. But yeah, I enjoy it, man. I enjoy it. I enjoy being in that environment, in a very
Contained fashion.
like hard environment,
Oh,
like
yeah.
very like I like pressure, man. I enjoy pressure. I enjoy being put in the spot and figure things out and things about different stuff through.
That's
through pressure.
beautiful, dude. I'm not entirely sure if you understand how rare that is, or do you? Because like, I would honestly invite you to offer. On some level, you are a senior to most students that face stress at Columbia, right? Statistically, the GS is a minority. Apart from that, you've seen more than most people have. You as an individual have been through more. You fucking sailed the Pacific. Let's be real. What are your tips for handling pressure, or for performing better under pressure?
Well, overall, man, I don't take life to be too serious. Even like everything, like even like under stress, man. Like I'm never really completely serious about life. What is it? I can't think of it right now. But the idea that like Hinduism, the idea that life is a play, that is Maya.
Maya,
yeah,
yes,
exactly.
It's an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
Maya translates into illusion.
Yeah, exactly.
And a magical illusion at that too. So it's not like an illusion that you. It's not like a visual illusion that you just see. It's not that. It's a created
Yeah.
illusion.
Yeah, he talks
of
about
the
Maya and then Krishna trying to hold on to that illusion.
Right.
So I think like when it comes to the stories that we tell ourselves, they're based on like the idea of the creator, right? Like you got the Christian Judea like ideas of there's a creator. There's the Hindu idea of the world is it's a place. There's just
but
like
there is a
all this sort
creator,
of stuff.
preserver, destroyer in Hinduism as well.
Yeah.
And Krishna is
Yeah, you got
manifestation.
Kali being like, yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. But ultimately, you got like things restart again, like the same process. Because
Right.
like for like Westerns, for us, it's mostly based on like a linear aspect.
Mhm.
But like Hinduism is
It's
just
cyclic.
yeah, it's cyclic.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, so there's that notion, and then you got like Taoism, which like everything is an organism growing
Yeah.
within itself.
Right.
So ultimately, man, for me, like I don't take things to be serious. I don't take myself serious at all. Even though at times I can get really intense and stuff, but
Right.
it's never like a serious matter.
Right.
So when I'm under stress and like things are going like really tough, like recently, man, like we had like that midterm. I had a midterm before that one, and then I was trying to close another deal in the house that didn't happen. So I was like doing all this different stuff, and I was getting pulled in many different directions, and I was under a lot of stress, but I would always like take a step back and be like and laugh, man, like, laugh about the situation. I think it's funny, man. If you can't laugh about it, then
You know, it's so funny. The same fluid seems to fill multiple jugs as well. So, I got into the development of the person about 2 years ago very actively. That's when I took up the idea of personal responsibility. That I can do stuff about myself. That I can build a personality. That I can build the man I want to become. Right. And one of the aspects, one of the core principles is never take shit too seriously. Ever. Ever. Operate under the law of abundance. That everything is right in front of you. You just have to act out to pick it up. Right. And you lose some, you'll gain some, but never take life too seriously. And I don't know what you think about me as an individual, but I feel like I've come very, very far in terms of developing a personality, in terms of developing a sociable person, in terms of developing a character that people might want to be friends with, that people might want to have in their lives, and in terms of being an individual who's responsible enough to achieve a level of personhood that is respectable to himself. Because that I feel is an ultimate goal in my 20s. I want to be the person I respect when I was 18, right? And one of the core principles is never take life too seriously. And the funny aspect is that it bleeds into a spiritual philosophical angle from the Hindu and the Taoist philosophies, and on a very personal psychological aspect, which is this one. There is reasoning behind it. Somebody who's fragile, somebody who complains. The two most unattractive traits, even for sexual selection. Even for sexual selection. Women hate men who complain. That's why they're like, oh, he's not emotionally stable, fuck him. Instantly, right? And not just that, men hate women who complain either. She's not, no. And then there is the personal aspect of how you tackle your life, because in the short term, in the small scale of things, anything can be a mountain. But when you zoom out and look at it, it's just probably a pimple, man. That's the most it can be. How seriously do you take your life?
But then you become like, especially if you put yourself as like the victim mentality, and then that like you said, that pimple becomes the mountain.
Right.
Yeah.
Bro, it's also funny, on campuses, people almost are like competing to be victims now. Oh no, I'm more victimized. Oh no, fuck Israel. It's the indigenous people who are more victim. Oh no, fuck indigenous people. It's the black lesbian women who are more, and the white cisgender male is doing all of that.
And I mean, it's pushing the labels into somebody else. You know what I mean? And it's a negative aspect, man. Like I think like I'm not either like I'm not liberal. I'm not like conservative. I'm not like in either aspect, man. Yeah.
But who do you vote for? Donald Trump. Yeah. Yo, you're gonna get banned off Columbia's campus.
Right.
You vote for Donald Trump. That's exactly how it is. By the way, I don't know if you know, but we have a club on campus because of the very same reason. We found that there were certain conversations you just cannot have on campus. And I'm going to bring the president of that club onto my next podcast, and one of our key members as well. And we started a club because we want to have discourse. We want to be able to talk about ideas. You know, it's pertinent, and like saying something like I support Donald Trump is like blasphemy.
It is, man. It is, especially like at school or like New York City in general, man. It's very it has like this demonic turn to it, which is.
And you know what's funny about it is the way people perceive it, and purely psychologically speaking, there is a heavy isolation bias there. I support Donald Trump has to be construed as I like Donald Trump. There's an isolation there.
Yeah.
No, I maybe like him better than Hillary Clinton. I may like him better in 2016, right? There could be so many relative variables to the whole thing.
Well, I've read a lot of like Donald Trump stuff when it comes to real estate. The man when it comes to business, man, like
he knows his shit.
He knows he's well knowledge, man. When it comes to like
Wow,
business and like
okay.
properties, this dude came from. I mean, of course, he had a lot of money to
So
start
much
out,
money, bro. So much
but
money.
nonetheless, he's grown like exponentially, man. So when it comes to like properties and stuff like that, this guy is on point.
Yeah, as a
So-
personality though, I fucking despise the fuck out of him.
That's a different perspective.
Yeah,
That's a different
yeah.
notion.
But you know what? I was talking to somebody about it, and they were like, "Oh, you support the patriarch, you support Donald Trump in his aggression." I'm like, "No, I don't think I support Donald Trump. I wouldn't have voted for him probably. I wouldn't have probably not voted at all. I don't know about Hillary's background, but probably. But
it's like what we said. When you take parts and pieces,
fragments.
Yeah, exactly.
But then there's this aspect as to why Donald Trump succeeded, and I feel like he appealed to a very very primal aspect of the underdeveloped population of America. Underdeveloped not in terms of like economics or politics, but like underdeveloped in terms of education, right? He displayed male aggression, the masculine, very thoroughly, an absurd masculinity, but masculinity still, and people latched on to the idea. People latched on to the fact that he could do something. I don't know what he's doing. I'm not very familiar with that, but like, it talks about the biological essentialism that goes into our decision making. There was a study that they did where they basically correlated your genotypical structure, your genes, to your political inclination, and they found a 75% correlation, bro. That's not little. That's a lot of correlation there.
75%.
Yeah, your genes decide where you're politically inclined. That is, I'm not saying it's 75%, but
Well,
even
yeah.
but it's like, even if it's 25, think about it. 1/4 of your political decisions are programmed into you. How scary is that?
Everything's programmed into you. You know how I mean, we talk about the having a strong will and like doing all the stuff that we do, right? And like creating this certain character, but like I think he was both here. He's a philosopher, right? He said that if God didn't exist, it would have to be created. Well, the way I perceive it is if free will doesn't exist, it would have to be created. Because I don't think free will really exists. I think it's just a concept. It's just an idea. There's more things that go into play that are subconsciously done by you that you don't define it as yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean,
You're
talk about
not
like breathing, all that stuff. Yeah.
Right.
And but like a simple example is I forgot his name. The guy. This was when was it? I think it was in the 70s. The guy who, maybe the 60s, 70s, the guy who went up the tower in a university in Texas. He went up with a rifle and he started like shooting people. Before that, the guy was a regular guy, and he had a wife, his family and everything. He killed his wife and he killed his mother, and then he grabbed the rifle and he went up the tower, and then he started like shooting, which is cynical, man. It's insane. It's horrible. It's a horrible act. But so the police came through and they killed him, right? And when they picked the body up, there was a note, and in the note he said, "Please examine my brain. There's something wrong with me." And they found out that he had a tumor like growing in his prefrontal cortex, which is like the very front part of the brain.
Right.
So his prefrontal cortex was like insanely freaking
Tumor.
yeah. So he had a huge tumor, man, and it was because of that his actions were like he completely changed the person that he was, because the simple things, man. It's like or like you can take into account the environment, man. The environment. I don't think there's a difference between our that we ultimately, it's just your decision. You can't even define what the decision is. It's just ultimately. So there's a lot of barriers that come from the environment that persuades the things that you're gonna do, the way you're gonna act. Simple chemical disbalances in your brain can make a huge difference in the person you can become. You get hit in the head playing rugby or anything like that, and you can change as a person. Your
Right. Oh yeah. There's so many instances of that. This guy got a head injury. Next day he was a piano master, and that's like the positive side. There's negatives too. Right?
Yeah.
So the way I see it though, even though I've heard this argument, and I'm like very conflicted about the deterministic free will, because I also come from a place where Hinduism is essentially a deterministic idea. Right? It's all being acted out. It's all men and women are players on the stage and stuff like that. But I feel like what you mentioned is something like you have like a small circle, like a small circle. and your biochemistry decides where you are on that circle, right? And the most that you have from there, including the environmental factors, is how far you go. That's your determination, the environment, the resources, and then how much you can change. So if you're starting here, you probably will never end up here, right? You will have to change this all the way to this. So like I will have to change my biochemistry, eat right, get here, and then walk this direction. Otherwise, I'm confined to walking straight on this path or slightly slanted, slightly diagonal. So it controls essentially the basis of your starting point, right? The end point and the direction is correlated to where you start. In that sense, it's deterministic in the long run, but you have instances of free will. That's how I see it. It's a more complicated view, but I see what you mean, man. And it's fantastic, honestly, Brian, man. I feel like this conversation by itself, you've touched on notes that I am particularly fond of myself, and I particularly embody or try to embody myself, and frankly, it's been fucking a ride, man, this conversation. I'm glad you came by, man. I'm glad you stopped by. Let's do it again sometime soon. I will be more than happy. I'm going to be back next week with two very interesting guests I have lined up. We're going to be discussing cultural relativism and American exceptionalism, I think, or ethnocentrism, or something like that. Words that I don't know what they mean. I'm still trying to make sense of them. But thank you, Brian. It's been an honest pleasure, dude. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you.